Hello, friends. Matthew Zachary here. You know, you've been told that the American healthcare system is broken. It isn't. It's working exactly as designed. Delays, denials, dehumanization. For decades, it's been profits over patients. You need proof? What's the first question they ask you? What insurance do you have? That tells you everything. And it isn't just big health insurance. It's the American Medical Association. It's labor unions. It's employers, politicians from both sides, and even the IRS. Yes, the IRS. They built it this way. And now it's time we, the patients, rig the system in our favor. Here's the prescription. We, the patients, understanding, navigating, and surviving America's healthcare nightmare. My new book by me, Matthew Zachary, a 30-year brain cancer survivor, the founder of Stupid Cancer, the host of this podcast, Out of Patients, and co-founder and CEO of We the Patients. Pick up your copy of We the Patients today wherever books are sold, or visit wethepatientsbook.com to learn more.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Did you know riders who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $200 per year? That's a whole new pair of riding gloves and more. Quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $197 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between October 2024 and September 2025. Potential savings will vary.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Dr. Jan Leyfman. And a quick heads up, this one comes with a bonus. Jen Singer, my ghostwriter and director of communications, crashed the party right here in the studio as my co-host, which means I had backup when things got interesting, which they did. Jan survived childhood radiation exposure tied to Chernobyl, and at one point sat in hospice as a kid while adults in white lab coats admitted they did not have answers to what was wrong with him. Chernobyl, anyone? Fast forward a few decades, and now he's the guy in the white coat, a hematology oncologist fellow working inside the same system that still struggles to deliver clarity when people need it most. Jan knows what it feels like to be the patient who cannot get a straight answer from anyone, and he's now training people to be the opposite of that. Along the way, he built MedNews Week during COVID, because he got tired of watching bad information spread faster than anything useful, which tells you a lot about how he operates when things break. We get into what happens when empathy meets a schedule that runs on 15-minute slots, how quickly doctors start to sound like press releases, and why the system still asks patients to be resilient instead of fixing what fails them. And did I mention he's a Chernobyl survivor? I did not have that on my bingo card on the editorial calendar. My name is Matthew Zachary. This is Out of Patients. Let's get started. You look good.
I strive to please. What can I say?
Wait, you have a Jewish mother, I assume.
Of course.
As we do, right? Balabusta, helicopter mom, how were you raised?
I'm an only child, so I think you can read between the lines.
All right, that was the answer I was not expecting, but it's somehow not surprising. By the way, listeners, I'm joined today by Jen Singer. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
I've got a guest co-host on the air today. Jen, as you know, is the ghostwriter of my new book, We the Patients. She's my director of communications and one of my dearest old cancer buddy, kick-ass, badass humans.
That's a nice thing to say, Matt. Thank you.
I'm your publicist. You're my publicist, I guess.
Yes, we do it for each other.
But Jen and I were shooting some stuff for the book, and Jan was coming in today, so we just, why not? Have a three-way on the air.
Oh, my.
Because that sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great.
Yes. Fun fact, Jan, my family is from Belarus.
Wow. Small world.
Yes, the city of Kobrin, to be specific.
Wow.
Is that where you were near when you were born?
It's not too far away. I was born in a city called Babruisk. It's on the border, essentially, of Belarus and Ukraine. We were about 70 miles away from Chernobyl, and we're about 3 hours away from Minsk. And that seems to be the main way that people know geography. When you think of Belarus, you think of Minsk, and then it's like, how far away are you from Minsk?
Right. And then there's Pinsk, too, because we can't have enough rhymes in Eastern European culture.
It's all to keep you entertained.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Good old Soviet bloc Jewish stuff.
Of course, of course.
So we talk about social determinants of health, right? Where you're born, where you live, how you're grown. But like, you didn't really choose to get born near Chernobyl in the ashes of that horror. That must have been fun growing up with, three-headed fish and things like that.
Yeah, I guess that's one perspective to put it. I will say that what I've learned over the years is when you look back at your journey, you don't necessarily pick the life that you have. But you're thrown challenges left and right. And challenges can either make you or they can break you. You can use them in a positive way or in a negative way. And I guess I'm very fortunate for the upbringing that I had, that my parents always taught me to use every challenge as an opportunity for growth so that you can become better at the end of the day. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and wasting your energy where you could be growing and really striving to be a better version of yourself. And the best version of yourself can be translated as a means to hopefully leave a positive impact on the world.
And you write for Hallmark, correct?
Not yet. They haven't reached out to me. I don't know. Do you have any contacts?
I'm going to reach out to some people I know that write greeting cards. You'd be perfect for them.
Thanks.
The Chernobyl line.
Yes. I'd say that's great Jewish parenting, but that's just good parenting in general. So kudos to them. Are they still with us?
Knock on wood. I'm really grateful that I'm very close with my parents. I see them several times a week. We speak on the phone pretty much daily. So it's all good.
So blessing and a curse, you can't escape them.
I mean, I'm grateful for the parents that I have. They've been through a lot. And I'm very grateful that they've supported me throughout all the challenges that I've had, but equally enough, we were able to celebrate the good times as well. And so now that they are getting older, I don't take time for granted. I want to spend time with them because you never know how much any of us have left on this planet.
All right, question for both of you. Did either of you happen to watch the HBO Chernobyl series?
I did not.
Did you watch it? Did they call you and say you have to watch it? Were you in it?
I was not in it, but I did catch glimpses of it. All of my friends who knew that I was a Chernobyl survivor, that was the first thing that they said.
All right, so I'm not new in my idea here. Okay.
No, they all reached out to me. They're like, so what was your thought of this and that episode? And what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I mean, you have to understand that TV is TV, but overall, I felt they did a relatively good job to showcase the story of what was going on. Obviously, it's not a documentary. You need to take it into context. There were some over-dramatified events, but irrespective of that, I strive to view it in a positive way in that it got the world to really understand that Chernobyl did exist, and it was not some made-up fiction thing and people were actually hurt. And to this day, people are still struggling with the after effects of it. So it's not just a one and done. We in New York had 9/11. That was not a movie. That was real life. And people every day who were near the World Trade Center are still suffering from the after effects of it. So I think that every tragedy has to be respected. And we need to give people who are survivors of it the time of day and the support that they need.
Because I just remember in the 80s when it happened, we kind of made fun of it. Oh, Russia, go figure, communist regime not doing its job. And this was 40 years ago, no one had empathy back then. Like the culture was like whatever it was, right? But you're absolutely right. The downstream, the late effects, the gift that keeps on giving. I saw that your mom had cancer. Was that attributable to her being there? Can they associate that?
Yeah. So being born in a communist regime has its situations.
How diplomatically spoken.
Yes, chosen word there.
A year before I was born, my mom was asked, in quotes, by the government to go to deliver food to Chernobyl with me in her belly. That was not and you can't say no to this ask. Let's put it that way. So she went to that zone.
Wait, was that Brezhnev, Andropov, or Gorbachev by then?
It was before I was born, so I'm not going to comment.
Okay, fair enough.
But I know that Alexander Lukashenko is still in power, and he was in power around the time that I was born. So irrespective, she went there and was obviously exposed. And then a decade or so later, well, she had her own moment of being a cancer patient. And those were challenging times. Just the whole situation of her being diagnosed. I was in college, and then finding out that she was diagnosed, and then it was before the Affordable Care Act. And what made things challenging was here you are immigrants, still trying to assimilate, acclimate, and get past the whole immigration stance, even though at that time it was, I don't remember how many years, probably over 15 or so years that we had immigrated. And then finding an oncologist, then realizing that the insurance that you had didn't want to pay for chemo, insurance dropping you mid-chemo.
Jen's getting really angry right now.
I'm so furious on your behalf.
Trying to then be a patient navigator before I knew what a patient navigator was, navigate the healthcare system, get my mom new insurance, but there was a wait time of a few months. Disease progression. In the interim, her physician basically said, well, she needs treatment, so we were forced to pay out of pocket. Oh. I actually had an acceptance to Cornell at that time, and sadly I had to give that up because we were barely able to make ends meet given what was happening. I don't regret it. That's something that everyone always asks me, because at the end of the day, the most important thing are the two people that I have in my life, which are my parents. And they sacrificed everything for me when I was with my own Chernobyl battle. And so the least that I can do is make that same sacrifice for them. And I do it in a heartbeat again.
I was a mother of a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old when I had cancer. And I felt like I ruined their childhood. I took away their innocence and one just by getting cancer. And I wonder, do you know how your parents felt about how it affected you? So I think that looking back at how my life has always been, we've had ups and downs. And we still have that immigrant, blue-collar Soviet mentality of like all for one and one for all, where when you're in the trenches, we're all here sitting with you in the trenches. And we're not here, to psychoanalyze why me. It's okay. This is a challenge in front of us. How do we circumvent it? And that was kind of the mentality that we had. It took a while, took a few years. Thankfully, we were able to get back on our feet. Thankfully, my mom was able to find a different provider in the city who took her in after her oncologist, let's just say, dropped her mid-treatment. And
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. But it's times like these that taught me values, or they reemphasized values, because it taught me the type of doctor that I want to be, the type of care that I want to provide. And I didn't go into medicine for financial gain. I went into medicine to make an impact. See, I'm a Chernobyl survivor. That's not something I can escape, but it's something that is a part of me. Thankfully, I don't have residual side effects from it, knock on wood. But what it showed me was, so
just some context, I was actually one of the sole survivors of the largest hospital in Belarus. Over 1,000 children are not with us again. I mean, today. Over 1,000 children are not with us today. I just want to emphasize that because I never forget where I came from. And I never forget how lucky or fortunate I am to be alive. And with, as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. With such a miracle also comes a responsibility. I carry the hopes, the weight, the dreams of over 1,000 children that aren't with us today. The question is, well, what do you do with it? You use it as a lesson, you use it for growth, and you try to use it as fuel so that you can become a better version of yourself and honor their legacy with your success. And that's what I strive to do on a daily basis. Whether I am treating patients, whether I'm doing research, whether I am mentoring the next generation, it's all about leaving an impact so that we can move past this and strive to really build the next generation of leaders, doctors, researchers who are capable and more agile to tackle challenges before them.
Well, I got nothing there. I feel inadequate now.
Well, I think what it's going to produce is one very empathic doctor.
Yeah. I guess where I could take this question is, of course, going back into the bullshit of American exceptionalism and we versus me. We're not very much a we country anymore. We used to be a we country, and we're now like a me country. How have you been able to absorb that in your practice of medicine? When I'm part of the medical burnout movement and the moral injury space, and we can get to the encroaching bullshit of how health insurance is ruining your life. But when did you start to realize, when you got here and were getting into medicine through college and training, that this country, communism being what it is, not everything's 100% bad, that we think actually comes in handy in other cultures? May not be communist, but it's important to realize that, oh, there are other people here, and I would like to be treated that way. If blah, blah, blah. When did you maybe start to realize that you have to just tolerate America for all of its blessings and curses?
I think looking back where I came from, and maybe I have this unique perspective of being an immigrant in a communist country, not having the freedoms that we have here, living in fear, watching your neighbors' houses burn down at night because accidents were happening, for people who were maybe speaking out, maybe having different ideals. I think those images are forever ingrained in you, especially in your youth. And coming to the United States, I realized there's no such thing as utopia. But compared to where I came from, this is. You have to take the good with the bad. I realize, and I'm a proud U.S. citizen, I'm proud to be here. And you have to take the good with the bad. Yes, there are areas of improvement, but compared to where I came from, it's night and day. This country gave me a chance. This country gave me an opportunity. I guess you can say I'm like your classic immigrant, believing in the American dream, the American story. But for me, the dream is not to be a billionaire or to own a mansion.
Or be a YouTuber.
Or that. It's really, I think God gave me tools and a mission that I didn't understand. And maybe to this day, I don't fully understand my capabilities. But they are tools and a mission and a vision. And in many ways, I feel like I'm a chess piece in the game of life. And this country gives me an opportunity to take my vision, take my hopes, and essentially be all that I strive to be. Granted, it's not without its challenges. And sometimes what you envision doesn't always amount to reality. But at the end of the day, you have a chance. Where I came from, that would not be. You essentially were put in a type of box. And you couldn't escape that box. That box was clouding your own potential. I'm grateful in the United States we don't have that. So take it for what it is, criticize, and you're able to do that here openly. You couldn't do that across the pond.
Right. And at the end of the day, the square away is it's better. Mm-hmm. With all your faults, I love you still, but it's definitely better.
100%.
All right. So before we take a break, why did you choose the specific area of medicine that you practice?
So given the fact I was a Chernobyl survivor, I wanted...
Were you?
Yeah.
I was unaware.
Oh, good to know. Well, surprise. I knew that I wanted to make an impact. So at the age of 15, I began to engage in research. And my research initially was in cell therapy, or at least studying the biology of cells. And then eventually it moved on to oncology. I think the biggest impetus was my mom's diagnosis and how the challenges that we were having with the healthcare, her not having continuity of care, with the logistical issues that were happening with insurance and physician, all of that. And at the end of the day, I felt I had a big brick on my shoulders, and I felt responsibility to make sure that she made it out of this in one piece. And research became an outlet for me. It became a means for me to try to make a difference and essentially try to save my mom. Thankfully, she made a full recovery, and knock on wood is in remission. But you never forget those days. And I think that everything that happened to her really was a transformational moment to me in terms of that I want to have an impact in the field of oncology, but not just in a therapeutic sense. Prevent what happened to her, losing care, from ever happening to anyone ever again.
Well, that is a great transition to our second half of the show. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Maybe a message from HBO. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right. We'll be right back.
As a small business owner, sometimes it feels like no matter how much planning you do, there's always surprises, like an urgent, expensive repair. But here's a surprise you will like. With Progressive, small business owners save 13% on their commercial auto insurance when they pay in full. So enjoy a surprise for once. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Support for this podcast comes from Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Did you know riders who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $200 per year? That's a whole new pair of riding gloves and more. Quote today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $197 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between October 2024 and September 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Why does Progressive work hard for truckers? Because truckers unite the world. They unite kids with their first drum sets and parents with earplugs. But truckers can't do this if they're not on the road. That's why Progressive has over 360 heavy truck employees to help truckers stay on time and on track. Quote truck insurance today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
So you say that your mom had to go through cancer pre-ACA, which says to me that they could drop her for having a pre-existing condition. There were continuity of care problems. There were problems with her getting health care in the first place. Can you explain to people who don't understand what the world was like before the ACA, what that meant? Why was it this way for her?
So initially, how all this happened was she was on my dad's insurance. there was a union. And when my mom had or got diagnosed, the insurance said we would pay for it. But then after they saw the first chemo bill, which was a couple of $100,000, they kind of began to recant. And at that time, it was like the Wild Wild West, where there was no mandate to have insurance cover. And insurance basically had the ability to decide, do we want to continue? Do we not want to continue? And I was a trainee in college, so I wasn't fully aware of these laws. And you also need to take into account that I'm an immigrant, and we're all immigrants, and we're still trying to learn every single day the laws of this country. And navigating the United States, and especially healthcare, is not easy. And just seeing that insurance had that much power, that was shocking to me. And I couldn't understand how and why, because you pay into a system so that you could use it when you need it. But then the system has the ability to basically cut you off. And that was a shocking realization to me when it happened.
So you had good union insurance, and they could still just let her go.
That's pretty much what happened.
Hashtag America.
Hashtag America. But I think what people aren't realizing is that we are headed back in that direction. They've been taking shots at the ACA 73 times, and that's not hyperbole, since the beginning, since 2008. And if they kill the ACA, a lot of those protections that people take for granted now are going to go away with it.
Where I want to go with this now, Jan, is every ounce of research, prevention, diagnostics, all these new medicines, immunotherapies, they're fantastic. They're evidence of progress, real science that can actually help people. But again, at the end of the day, with your doctor hat on, with your oncology hat on, the ultimate determinant of whether you get those medicines that can save your life is going to be either your employer's insurance or whatever insurance you may or may not have. Now, as much as life is different in America and you take what you get and you can't get upset and you do your best to no, it's better than communist Europe in the 80s. How do you as a physician square that away when you're busting your ass helping patients? And do you spend most of your time helping them navigate the system? Are you explaining things to them? Did they come to you for help? Where do you live in this ecosystem of this is a great thing to help you not die, but hey, Aetna's going to say no.
So
Aetna, not a sponsor.
So in today's day and age, from my understanding, the latest immunotherapies like CAR T cells, they are covered by insurance, thankfully. And I've had the fortune of being trained by the father of CAR T cell therapy, actually, before it got FDA approval. So I saw the technology in its infancy, and it's amazing to see the technology, I would say, basically 15 years after I was in his lab, saving lives, making a difference, and putting people in remission. That is really, I would say, the dream, and being able to see a product come from the bench to the bedside in real time that I may have played a small role in for the next generation of therapies is just, it's amazing to see. I don't think there are words to describe it. But at the same time, there are also economic challenges. And the challenges being that we in oncology are entering a world of precision oncology, personalized but medicine as a whole. We're using things like gene therapies to treat diseases like sickle cell disease, that in the past, basically you can only control. And just a few days ago, a New England Journal paper came out showing the promise of that therapy. And I'm sure with further refinements and with greater longevity, we can hopefully offer more hope to these patients. But these therapies can go over $1 million. And the question being that given the present state of the economy and how expensive healthcare is, we need to find creative ways and creative solutions. I'm not a policymaker, so that's above my pay grade. But I always have these conversations with patients. Thankfully, my institution has a division devoted to this, social work and things like that, that can help to navigate. But at the end of the day, as a physician, you also need to help navigate. And part of it can also be advocating on behalf of the patient by reaching out to the companies that are producing these therapies and seeing if there are ways to help offset the costs. I never forgot what it's like to be a patient. I never forgot what it's like to be a caregiver either. And I think that those two ideas still pervade within me every time I'm having this face-to-face discussion with a patient. But I'm always going to tell them what the latest toys are, and then we're going to navigate the system together to try to get them the best possible care.
But don't you feel we're approaching, I don't know what the word is, like some kind of like nexus point where, let's focus on oncology, where we're getting better at identifying specific things for people to not die, but exponentially is becoming more expensive, prohibiting people from taking advantage of the very things that are designed for them to not die. How do you square that?
It's a catch-22.
Yes, it is. Where's your head on this? Where are we in 5 years?
I would hope that people in Washington that are being paid the big bucks are listening and paying attention to what is happening. The present system is really unsustainable. And taking care of, and I'm fortunate to take care of a wide variety of patients, those of lower socioeconomic status, to middle class, to upper class. But especially when you're dealing with those of lower socioeconomic status, you have to be very realistic. Like, what insurance do they have and what will the insurance cover? But also with these therapies, some things like CAR T-cell therapy, it's not just like a one and done where I give you an injection and goodbye. You need to be close to the facility for a certain period of time. You need to be watched to make sure that there are no side effects. And there is an exorbitant amount of cost. The cheapest CAR T-cell therapy presently is like $370,000. The most expensive one is $760,000. And I'm sure that these costs will vary as time moves on. We are approaching an exciting era of off-the-shelf and allogeneic cell therapies that hopefully will decrease the cost. But it's hard to predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball here, and I'm not going to have one tomorrow.
Chernobyl didn't give you the ability to see the future? Some innate radioactive side effect in your brain?
That was not one of the wishes given to me. I'm sorry.
Got it. Jen, let's channel your prior history as a medical writer, because you're doing a lot of stuff, Jan, in content that's highly relevant. Mm-hmm. Did you see a need to fill a need, or did you find something that I can just do this better?
So all of this actually began during COVID. So at baseline, I was told I had a very innate knack for writing and communication and being able to connect with people. And I think a lot of it obviously goes back to the history that I've had. I also took a lot of creative writing courses during my elementary years. And during COVID, I was seeing a lot of healthcare misinformation, specifically on social media, where you had individuals who were not experts in the field, may not even have adequate degrees that they purported to have very loud voices, and be seen as global experts in the field. And it was very dangerous because of their recommendations, people were getting hurt. My mentor, Dr. Park, who is very well-renowned individual in the oncology world, a master educator and researcher and clinician, said to me, he said, look, you can't just sit idly and watch this happen. And I think looking back at my past during Chernobyl, COVID was like a deja vu. My parents were on the front lines in New York, taking care of, obviously, the city in various ways. And I was scared. I mean, I nearly lost my mom a decade or so before. Was this deja vu? And I I couldn't bear to live with myself if I just allowed this to happen without any form of intervention. So at the time, there was a social media platform called Clubhouse.
Oh my God! Remember Clubhouse?
Yes, I remember.
Wow. Okay.
Good. I'm glad.
Rip Clubhouse.
It lasted like 5 months, but it was great while it existed.
Yeah.
So I was actually on it for like, I think a year or two. So I'm sorry. But yeah. So we were seeing a lot of healthcare misinformation, and a lot of the features of Clubhouse actually became inspiration for aspects of Twitter Spaces and things like that. But irrespective of that, we began hosting our own shows. And ultimately, a platform called MedNews Week was born, where essentially we were on a weekly basis hosting shows on the platform, on Clubhouse, seeing about the latest developments in COVID. But then as time moved on, we began speaking and seeing that this can be more broadly applicable to things even beyond COVID. So then we began incorporating oncology. And then we began hosting global leaders in medicine, because at that time, the world was in a pandemic. But the voices, the medicine, the science, that was still going on. And eventually it evolved. We now celebrate our 4-year anniversary in December. We hit over 100 countries, 44 which are of lower socioeconomic status. I mentor as part of MedNews Week because I also saw that there was a lot of talent internationally, especially in redeveloping countries that aren't really given an opportunity to shine. Being an immigrant myself, from what I consider to be basically almost a third world country, I see a lot of myself in these trainees. So now we have about 33 trainees that we help to mentor to hopefully become future leaders in the field.
I would say a 2.5 world country. Wasn't quite third world, but you're like that 0.5 was definitely Soviet bloc stuff.
Touche.
Yeah. So Jen, he's a correspondent now, right? Who are the people that are like, I mean, do you talk to weirdos like us? Where the patients live in your space, or is this like a new thing for you to be brought into my world?
So I feel that if one has a voice, you need to use it, and you shouldn't be selective on your population. I'm fortunate that I think my foray from Clubhouse has evolved and given me a platform on social media through MedNews Week as well. And I'm given invitations, whether it's to speak to audiences that are mainly trainee focused in medicine, oncology focused, and then to podcasts and patient-centered events as well. For me, I feel that everyone has a voice, and it's nice to know the science, but it's better when you can translate the science to mainstream. And that's one of the main things I've learned during COVID, because when people understand why and what the science means, they're more likely to follow the recommendations based on what the data shows. But the challenge being that the science is sometimes a bit more convoluted for the average individual. And so I strive, when given a chance, to translate it toward a mainstream. And I think that was also the inspiration for a podcast that I recently launched as well, where I take basic science papers, and within a time span of 5 to 15 minutes, I strive to translate what this means for the mainstream audience so they can appreciate what science is coming along the pipeline. And that's that.
What can you tell patients now? Because it's getting extremely confusing, even more so than during the pandemic, I think, because everybody is on their own version of Instagram and their own version of TikTok. And you click on one piece of misinformation, and now you're telling the algorithm, I would like some more medical misinformation. What can you tell patients on how to figure out if it is misinformation and where to go for actual information, especially given what's being sent to us from above?
Oh boy, yeah.
So it's funny that you say that. One of the inspirations for launching of MedNews Week was actually that idea that you just brought forth, medical misinformation. When we were looking online and doing our research about it, we actually found that about 33 to 40% of data out there is actually healthcare misinformation on social media.
Wow.
And that's very dangerous.
I would expect it to be much higher. So actually, I'm surprised
Really?
it's that low. Yeah.
that was data.
Because there's more money in the fake stuff, with the bots and everything.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe it's increased now that I think post-COVID, a lot more people have embraced social media, but at least that was the data that we were able to abstract during the COVID era. But irrespective, that is still a very high numeral. But I think that the most important thing is when you're reading a source, look who the author is and then look up the author. Are they reputable? Are they affiliated with an institution? And see if there's an agenda, if there are conflicts of interest. Who are they? Who is a sponsoring institution of them and the work that they do? And sadly, that requires research on the part of the individual. I know that especially if one is a patient and seeing patients on a daily basis, I see that they also look at holistic medicine, alternative medicine, and I firmly embrace it. I think that there's value in it. I feel we need to do more research and we need to invest more into further elucidating what else could be out there. I guess you can call me an outside the box thinker. But at the same time, it's important to listen to your physician because medicine now is a team sport. And your physician is kind of the quarterback who's kind of directing traffic on how one should navigate to win. If you're looking at a game, it's to win a game. If you're fighting disease like cancer, it's how do you beat cancer, at least control it, so you can maximize your time on this planet. And really, if a physician says, I have concerns about using this or augmenting this with the current treatments that I'm giving you, you should listen to your physician. But at the same time, I also tell patients, look, if you want a second opinion, I don't take offense to it. I think that we each have something to offer, and there's no magnanimous individual or omnipotent individual who knows everything and at the snap of a finger can wave a wand and you're disease-free. But some things work for some people, they may not work for someone else. When you're dealing with a disease like cancer, which is a heterogeneous disease, it's not a one-size-fits-all model. We do have data, and that's how we go off of how the present treatments and guidelines are made. But at the same time, there are always outliers as well. And it's important to understand that and really be an advocate for yourself.
And to be clear, a second opinion is from another doctor, not your Facebook group.
100%.
Well, on that note, you're not familiar with this, but I do a bonus round with all my guests, and I ask my ChatGPT one question after I tell it who you are, feed it your pedigree, and talk to it. The question is, if you were a Netflix series, what 3 pop culture, I said medical pop culture icons would embody your Netflix character? And it came back with, I hope you know all of them. You might. You probably know Dana Scully from the X-Files. Mm-hmm. So this says, a scientist trained to trust evidence who keeps running into the limits of what evidence can explain. Carrying personal exposure to illness and loss, insists on rigor. The tension mirrors the life as someone shaped by catastrophe who still believes in the discipline of science. That's number 1. You are Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, Jeff Goldblum's character. A theorist who understands systems, chaos, and unintended consequences often faster than the institutions around him. Speaking in big ideas but stays grounded in real risk, aligns with a physician who operates inside complex systems while trying to explain where they break. And this was a deep cut. You're Ellie Arroway from Contact. Jodie Foster's character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the weird space-time thing there. A scientist driven by early life experience that borders on existential loss, pushing towards meaning through discovery, fighting to be taken seriously inside institutions that question credibility while holding onto a deeply personal reason for doing the work.
This is the coolest character ever.
Yes, so congratulations, Dr. Jan Leyfman. You are Dana Scully, Ian Malcolm, and Ellie Arroway.
Thank you. That's probably the highlight of my day today.
AI, again, AI for the win.
AI for the win.
What is it, like 80% of the time works every time? Good old Anchorman reference for the win. All right, I want to outro you, but you're too much. And I like what you said before. You're not defined by being a Chernobyl survivor. You're informed by being a Chernobyl survivor. And you were raised well. So kudos to mom and dad for Knockwood still being here. Dr. Jan Leyfman does a lot of things, but I do want to mention you Onc Live is really important. The founder of MedNews Week. We know Mona Javeri really, really well from Music Beats Cancer. We're like 20-year friends. But thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and I really enjoyed our conversation today.
All right, friends. We'll see you next time. Jen Singer, thanks again for showing up.
Thanks for getting me out of my house.
Okay. Bye, guys. See you next time.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.